Hey, I'm Ralph for JestaThaRogue and nice and early on March the 14th, 2020, I got in my car to take the long journey north to visit Airecon, as represented here by stock footage of cars on a busy dual carriageway. As this is my 5th year visiting Airecon, I have a bit of a tradition where I stop here, Woodall Services on the M1 for a healthy, nutritious breakfast. With both the gauges of my tummy and my car set to full, I'm ready to go. The trip up north takes you some of the most beautiful scenery in the land. I mean, not this is more stock footage, but it's close enough, although I don't actually think this is England. And eventually I get to my final destination, the 343 space West Park multi-storey car park in Harrogate with a very reasonable 12 hours parking for just £4.80. If you've never been to Harrogate itself, it is one of the prettiest towns in the country. Lots of scenery, lots of greenery, except those hills. I don't like those hills. Luckily, it's downhill all the way to the Harrogate Convention Centre where the event takes place. As you can see from these left to right pans, it's full of game vendors, accessory specialists, a few rooms of open gaming, a bring and buy, RPG and plus more with everyone catered for. This is where I sat down to play my first game. This is Houses of Knowledge. In this game, what you're doing is you're curating a museum. You do this by spending money to buy rooms and to buy items for those rooms, and you pay to put the items in those rooms, and you can also buy staff that give you effects. You can either have a free effect that allows you to either draw cards or steal cards from other players or make other players discard cards, or they have a second ability they have to pay 5 money cash, which is the name of the money, to activate, which is a bit more of a strong ability. Now, when it comes back round to your turn, you're going to get income based on the number of items you have in rooms. There's a bit of a set collection there with the multiplier. And the more items you have in a room, the more income you will get. At the end of the game, you get points for a whole mess of things, the number of rooms, the number of different types of rooms, number of items, number of security guards you have, and the player with the most points wins. So let's put this one on the tier list. It is going to go in the yeah, I'll play it again section. It's not really my kind of game, but I would like to play it again with 4 really cutthroat players. And then the next game I played almost immediately was Arluca Chase. In this game, one player is the Dark Arluca, and they are trying to infect or give Dark Arlucas to the other players. The players can use Arluca shields in order to counter a Dark Arluca. You're going to hear the word Arluca a lot over the next few seconds. Players can play cards that allow you to rob cards from other people. They will allow you to force other players to take turns. They will allow you to look at the top cards of the deck. They will allow you to reflect an action card that has been pointed towards you back on the player that played it. And basically the last surviving player wins. And the game is not available yet. I don't think it's fully finished, and I'm going to put it up on the tier list. I'm going to put it on, yeah, I'll play it again. But it needs to be cleaned up. The rules need to be cleaned up. They need to do something about the fact that there was a lot of shields in my game, more shields than Dark Arluca, so it was impossible for the Dark Arluca player to win. Which just happened to be me, so maybe I'm just bitter. By the way, I'm going through these games quickly in this video. If you want a more detailed written review, you can find them at jtrpodcast.com. They'll be coming out in the coming weeks. Look at that website, what a great website. You should bookmark that website. I immediately played another game, which is Banana Battle, and this is an Uno speed game. And what you have to do in this game is you play a card from your hand that either matches the type or the colour of the card on top of the deck. And each of those cards has an action, and everybody must do that action. For example, at the beginning of the video, we're playing a game where you have to drop your cards and clap. The last person to clap will have to pick up a card. Yellow cards are wild banana cards, and they are just cards that you can play. You can play as many of those as you want in one turn. You can see this card here is a bang with 2 fingers and an arrow pointing either side. That means the players either side of you must point their fingers at each other and say bang. The last person to do it will draw a card.
That's dangerous. Bang.
If you've got no cards left in your hand, you put your hand on top of your head. If it comes back round to your turn and you've still got your hand on your head, then you win the round. You get a medal. If you win another game with the medal, you win the game outright. Over to the tier list, I'll put this one in. Yeah, I'll play that again. I'll put it just below Arluca Chase. It's never going to be a game that I buy, but it's always going to be a game that I'm going to want to play as a filler. Next up, we have Circulari. We are mining ore and converting waste rock into an ore-rich planet. And you do this by moving cubes. So you have so many action points on your turn. You're going to move cubes out from your player board, which represent robots, onto these different tiles. The tiles have 3 resets levels. One of those levels are going to allow you to mine the rock, the other is going to allow you to mine the ore, and the ones in the middle are going to let you move the tiles around the circle. What you're trying to do is trying to move the ore tiles around to the metal ore area. You'll then harvest, giving you an income of metal ore, and you're also trying to get the waste rock planets back round to jet them out into space, which takes that tile away from the board. You put a new tile on there with metal ore, and you also gain some energy. You can also upgrade your number of movement points you have, allowing you to move the planets around the circle further. There's also a number of command channels you can increase, which will give you extra commands, which allows you to extract or deorbit waste rock and shift the planets around more than once per turn. If you deorbit a waste rock, or you get your movement points to maximum, or you get your command channels to maximum, or you can use this export ability to gain 2 victory points. The first person to 7 victory points wins. We started at 3 and played a truncated game, as you should in a demo. And I lost, but only just. So I'm going to put this one in one and done. It's not my kind of game. It's a bit bland for the kind of Euro that I play. It's not heavy enough to be interesting, and it's not light enough to be fun. It's kind of right in that middle point of games that don't interest me, unfortunately. So that is Circulari. And at this point in the day, my camera, my phone and myself were in need of a recharge, and I was in need for some pun-based food, and luckily Airecon can accommodate. I had a beautifully tasting steak witch, but it was so soggy I had to scoop it out of its cardboard prison with my finger. But as I said, it did taste really nice. It was so nice it put me in the mood for playing a game about moving deck chairs on a boat, and luckily the first game I found when I went back in was deck chairs on the Titanic. This is a very simple game where you have some deck chairs on a board, and you also have a big lump of ice represented by that big white blob. And players have 3 actions. They're going to take turn taking 1 action each. Your actions are move one of your deck chairs orthogonally, move the iceberg as far as it can in one direction. It moves like a queen and it pushes deck chairs out the way. Or you can place a meeple on one of your deck chairs, which is an attendant, and it stops that deck chair from moving. And then what happens at the end of the round, from the second round onwards, the boat is going to move, and that's represented by these cards. And these cards are going to move all the deck chairs without attendants on them that direction 1 space. And then at the end of the round, you're going to score points. And these might be wrong, but as you can tell, this is a prototype of a game, so it may change. But I believe, if I remember rightly, you get 1 point if you're on a colour space belonging to an opponent, 2 points if you're on your colour space, and 4 points if you manage to control that valuable centre space, because everyone wants to be the centre of attention. So back to the tier list. I'm going to put it in yet. I'll play it again. I'm going to put it above Houses of Knowledge. This was a really fun game. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when it's fully complete and fully developed. Next up is Overstocked, where you are stocking 90s toys in your warehouse. What you do is you have a hand of cards. I think there's 6 cards in your hand. Everybody picks one, puts it face down, and simultaneously reveals the cards are numbered, and you play them from lowest to highest. And you can do one of 2 things with them. You can either put them into your own warehouse, you have to overlap a certain number of squares, or you can put them into the centre, which represents the demand on that toy. Once everybody's played all their cards, you're going to score points. Now this is depending on the middle, and the largest connected area of those toys in the middle, you're going to times that by your largest connected area of that toy in your warehouse. And you're going to do that for all 4 toys. But the largest area is the toy that's in demand. It's an over demand, it's too popular, and so that one is going to score negatively. Not sure how the toy with the most demand scores negatively, because it says to avoid overstocking, but that's how the game works. I'm going to put this one in one and done as well. It was okay, it was pretty good. I can see this being cool with the maximum number of players, which is 6, but for me, it's similar to Honshu, and Honshu does it better. Now at this point, I was in need of some sugar, so I went out to Madame Crepe for a billionaire, which is chocolate sauce and crushed digestive biscuits topped with squirty cream, caramel, 2 mini millionaire shortbreads, and a chocolate flake. It was the best. Back to games, and the next one was War of the Nine Realms, a sort of modified 2-player skirmish version of what is usually a larger game that plays up to 4 players, I believe. This is very simple. You have one group of 4 people, your opponent has another group of 4 people. You start with one end of each of the board, and you kind of run to the middle using movement points, and then you use dice to roll for combat. And you're basically just trying to roll to kill your opponents. You've got ranged attacks, you've got melee attacks. Everybody's got their own ability. All the different terrain types do something. They're easier to move over. Some give you cover. You're allowed to shoot out of woods, but you can't shoot into them, for example. And through killing and other means, you're going to get points into your blood cauldron. The first person to get 9 points is the winner. And this is pretty cool. Yep, I'm going to put it in. Yeah, I'll play it again. I would like to play the big, full 4-player version. I think that would be a lot of fun. And the final game I played was Librium, and if you've never played it before, you've probably just looked at 5 seconds of this video and know exactly what to do. Basically, you're going to take turns putting these plastic cards into these slots. You can either hang them on, you can plug them in so they're facing upwards. You can do all sorts of things. There's all different versions, some small, some big, some fit on tins, some you can put on top of bottles. And the first person to knock it all down is the loser. And there you go, that is Librium, and that is all the games I played. You can see there's none that were really bad, but there was none that was like super good that I must have right now. And that's it. I had another great time at Airecon. It is a great event. You should all try and visit. The last thing for me to do though is on the way home, stop off for a nice nutritious meal.